the bright side of life. Always look on the right side of life.
Gina, do you want to talk about the upcoming season?
We have got a great season.
You do.
It really is. It's fun a lot, and it starts with Spamalot in October. Spamalot won 3 Tonys, including Best Musical. It is based, as they say, it's lovingly ripped off from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. The Eric Idle, who is just hilarious, and John Dupree have written the music and the lyrics, and I will tell you, when you see this, you feel like you're watching people on stage who are having so much fun.
Absolutely, and in the hands of Mike Nichols, one of America's greatest directors.
Absolutely.
It's a spectacular entertainment. The score, if you haven't heard it, is absolutely memorable and delightful, and will be a great hit. Okay,
yes.
Number 1. That's a great coup to have that.
Yeah, it's a great way to start the season.
Absolutely.
So that starts us off in October. January is The Light in the Piazza. This musical was described as the most romantic score since West Side Story. It is written by a fellow named Adam Gettle, who is the grandson of Richard Rodgers, who wrote the music and the lyrics. And it's set in 1953, and it's the story about Margaret Johnson and her daughter Clara are in Florence on vacation, and Clara is a little troubled and bumps into this Italian stallion named Fabrizio.
And you would understand that with a name like Gina Vernaci.
Exactly. Exactly. And so her mother then spends a lot of time trying to break up the relationship and move it apart, and it's really interesting, and it's beautiful. It's produced by the Lincoln Center in New York City. Part of the show is in Italian, so this is, when we talk about stretching, this is a bit of a stretch for the audience. But what you learn is that language is only a detail in communication, because you really understand what is happening. So that will be here with us.
And the lush nature of the music and the scores.
Yeah.
And then that in juxtaposition to the Spamalot, it's such a perfect, that's so sassy and naughty and Broadway. And then to have the mixture of these two extraordinary pieces side by side will be a wonderful contrast. Go on with the season.
Well, sassy, naughty, and Broadway are the great entree to talk about Chita. Chita Rivera, Dancer's Life, is going to be here in February. And what a thrill to have Chita Rivera here. She is the real deal.
Absolutely. She is Broadway. She defines the Broadway dancer.
Yeah.
And to create a sort of musical entertainment, a biography, really, a musical biography of her life that's been maneuvered by Terrence McNally, who's done a very innovative script for the piece.
Yes.
And
it's really wonderful. And when she started out with this, she didn't want to be her story. She really wanted it to be a story about the business and about Broadway and about dancing. But she certainly is the vehicle, because she is the connection to some of the greatest choreographers. She originated some of the most memorable roles: Anita in West Side Story, and Velma in Chicago, and Rose in Bye Bye Birdie, and the Spider-Woman and Kiss of the Spider-Woman. So what a thrill to have someone like Chita Rivera on this stage. It's an event to see Chita.
Right, it's a legend.
Yes, absolutely.
And I mean, it's a scrapbook of Broadway. It's a scrapbook of the best of the development of dance as a means of communicating. I mean, keep in mind, when West Side Story was created, this redefined theater dance, and Chita Rivera was there doing it, and she's still doing it. And all these years later, she's as beautiful and as glamorous, and those photographs of Chita in her high heels make her as spectacular. There's no showgirl on Broadway that can top Chita. A
perfect Valentine for Cleveland. We'll be spending the time with Chita. So March, we have a play, a comedy by James Kirkwood called Legends, titled Legends. And it is the story about an unscrupulous producer who brings together two warring divas who hate each other to do a play. And how appropriate that will star Joan Collins and Linda Evans.
Absolutely, it's a coup. This show will redefine camp. There's no way. All you can think of is the Stephen Sondheim songs that, first I was a vamp, and then I was someone's mother, and now I'm camp. But here we are taking that show. For those of you who don't remember, Jimmy Kirkwood was the writer of Chorus Line,
yes.
A wonderful novelist who wrote P.S. Your Cat is Dead and countless other things. It's a wonderful piece. It was originally conceived with Mary Martin and Carol Channing.
Yes, which played here in '86.
Yes, absolutely.
And had its own behind-the-scenes drama as well.
Mary Martin was having trouble remembering lines, and they gave her a little device so she could hear, and she was getting taxi calls instead of her lines, so that didn't help. And it blasted out, and Carol Channing's eyes kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And so I think this proves it is not really just a camp event. These two women are still in their prime, and it's going to be very interesting. It's a very delightful comedy and a very interesting inside view of theater, and I think having those two women play that role, I think it redefines the show, and I think it will be a rediscovered show. Sadly, it was lost because they had so much trouble on the road with it originally.
Well, you know, the trouble actually was dealt with Mary Martin, centered around her, because the show was originally destined for London and New York, and her speech in the second act, which dealt with breast cancer, was cut, and she was angry because of that. And she was so angry, she was like, I'm not doing London, I'm not doing New York, this is it. That was all going on while they were here in Cleveland. And subsequent to playing Cleveland, actually, it all folded, and that actually inspired James Kirkwood to write Diary of a Mad Playwright.
Yes, absolutely. And for good reason.
Okay, so things heat up in April with All Shook Up. This is described as the best retro rock musical since Grease. So it's a story about a young girl in a small town who has big dreams of the open road, and a young stud on a motorcycle comes wheeling into town and
What a combination.
Yeah, exactly. Turns her and the town upside down. So it's a chance to hear, it's the frame of the story. It's a chance to hear some of your favorite Elvis music, such as All Shook Up, Blue Suede Shoes, Love Me Tender is a part of that. So it'll be a lot of fun for April.
Absolutely.
May, we have The Rat Pack. Now imagine this. Imagine that you're sitting in the Sands Hotel in 1963. It's a wild and swinging time.
I'm that old. But I'll try.
Excellent.
I'll close my eyes. I'll imagine it. Go on.
You were in the Sands Hotel.
I was.
So there are these three guys, Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., and a guy from Steubenville, Ohio, whose name was Dino Crocetti, who became known as Dean Martin, are doing the show. And it's important to hear this, because as an audience member, you do feel like you're there. And there's an orchestra on stage. You can hear, the beautiful writing of Sammy Cahn and Kander and Ebb, and the orchestrations of Nelson Riddle, his arrangements. It really will probably be the last chance to hear that fabulous music on stage again.
And this show has been playing in London for 4 years, and still playing to capacity. I've just come back from London, and it's still, a hot ticket. People are still loving the show there.
Yeah, I actually had the chance to see it in London. I saw it. They had one stop in Hartford, Connecticut. I spoke to the subscribers, as many as I could, at intermission, and I asked why they liked the show, and they said, this is my music.
Absolutely.
When will I hear this music live again with an orchestra?
And done with such distinction and in this wonderful framework.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, go on.
And then the season winds up in June with Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Dirty Rotten Scoundrels is a comedy musical that is based on the French Riviera. It involves two con men who meet on a train and decide that the first one who can swindle $50,000 out of this young, wealthy heiress will win the con, because the town's too small for both of them to be there. And so there are lots of antics along the way.
So we have a season then that looks tremendously exciting, with a wide range, diverse music, diverse staging, star attractions with Chita Rivera, and it gives us a celebration again of the musical theater in a very special way, with legends then moving in there as a very interesting comedy really about the theater.
Yes.
It's very insightful.
Always look on the right.